Hello dear students, welcome back to EDUHUNT video lecture series. And this is Lata Krishna from Biology. And in the previous sessions, we have finished almost all endocrine glands, their secretions, that is hormones, their functions, and the causes or consequences if the function of the gland is abnormal. And let us see one more and the last gland, endocrine gland of the human body is adrenal gland. This gland is also known as suprarenal gland because it is present just beside or just above the kidney. Renal is somewhat related to the kidney. So suprarenal, it is just above the kidney. There are two glands formed by the fusion of different tissues. And each gland consists of two regions. It is differentiated into two regions. Outer region called the cortex and the inner region called medulla. So the cortex, which is outer tissue, is approximately 70% of the adrenal gland composed of, and the inner region of the adrenal gland, that is 30% of the adrenal gland. 30% of the adrenal gland is of medulla. The cortex origin is from mesoderm of the embryonic layers, and the medulla is originated from the ectoderm. So the adrenal gland is the origin of the adrenal gland is ectomesodermal or mesoectodermal. So if you see the kidney, just above the kidney there are two. Each kidney bears one adrenal gland. In the picture, left kidney is shown. If we take the section of the adrenal gland, it looks like this. The cortex is the peripheral region where it is originated from the mesoderm, and medulla, which is the central region of the adrenal gland, which is originated from the mesoectoderm. So it is mesoectoderm in nature. The origin of the endocrine gland is mesoectoderm or ectomesoderm. The hormones that are secreted by the adrenal cortex are usually what kind of hormones they are. What is the chemical nature of these hormones? Most of the hormones that are secreted by the adrenal gland are the derivatives of the fatty acids or the cholesterol. So obviously they are steroid in nature. Let us see the hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex. The cortex of the adrenal gland consists of three zones. One is the zona glomerulosa. This is the outermost one, and it secretes the mineral corticoids. Mineral corticoids. The hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex are called corticoids. Corticoids. And the corticoids are the hormones secreted by the zona glomerulosa, that is the peripheral region or the outermost region of the cortex. Cortex is the outermost region, and in that cortex, the outer region of that cortex is called the zona glomerulosa, and it secretes the mineral corticoids. And the second one is the zona fasciculata. It is the middle zone and it produces glucocorticoids. Mineral corticoids are secreted by the outermost region, that is zona glomerulosa, and the middle portion, zona fasciculata, secretes the corticoids, that is glucocorticoids. And zona reticularis, this is the innermost portion of the innermost region of the adrenal cortex. It produces sex hormones or sex corticoids, steroids, sex corticoids. So obviously the three regions are differentiated from each other. The three regions of the cortex are differentiated from each other, and each one is responsible for secretion of specific hormones like mineral corticoids by the outermost layer, outermost region, zona glomerulosa, and the middle portion secretes glucocorticoids, and the inner one, that is zona reticularis, that secretes the sex hormones or the sex corticoids. First, let us see the mineral corticoids. Aldosterone, which is the most potent mineral corticoid secreted by the adrenal cortex outer region, zona glomerulosa. Zona glomerulosa secretes aldosterone, which is a mineral corticoid, and it is most potent chemical produced by the cortex of the adrenal gland, and it is commonly called hypernatremic factor. Hypernatremic factor. What is natremic factor? Natrium is, that is, you might know this. What is this element? Yes, that is sodium. So the electrolyte balance, sodium balance, is done by this aldosterone. It is called hypernatremic factor since it increases the amount of natrium. Natrium is called sodium ions. Sodium, these are cations, positively charged ions, sodium ions in the blood. It increases or it raises the blood's sodium level. That is why this hormone is also known as hypernatremic factor, and its secretion is regulated by renin-angiotensin system and not by the adrenocortico-stimulating hormone, not by the adrenal cortex hormones of the anterior pituitary gland, ACTH, adrenocortico hormone, which is secreted by the anterior pituitary gland anterior part, and which is regulated by the renin-angiotensin system, not by the ACTH of the pituitary gland. This must be remembered because in multiple choice questions they ask, because there is a chance of getting confusion, because ACTH stands for adenocortico hormone. So adenocortico hormone is it is the hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary gland. Obviously, when we see this hormone, we by mistakenly we connect this hormone to the mineral corticoids of the adrenal cortex, because there is a connection between adrenal cortico, this is the stimulating hormone, and this is just a hormone, mineral corticoids. By mistakenly we may put a tick over it. To avoid that, I am clarifying this again and again, that hypernatremic factor is the aldosterone, which is responsible for the higher concentration of the or raise in the sodium level in blood. It is controlled or regulated by the renin-angiotensin system and not by the ACTH of the anterior pituitary gland. And it promotes the absorption of sodium, because after absorbing the sodium, the blood sodium level increases from DCT. What is this DCT? Distal convolution tubule, that is present in the nephron, collecting tubule. So in the nephron there are distal and there are proximal portions. These are the collecting tubules, and there are convolutions, and these are the collecting tubules, distal collecting tubule and convolutions are there. And from this region it absorbs the sodium before going to filter. It absorbs, it increases the absorption of sodium from the kidneys. Next hormone or next portion, that is glona fasciculata, which secretes glucocorticoids. And these glucocorticoids consist of cortisol. Cortisol is the most potent glucocorticoid. Aldosterone is the most potent mineral corticoid, but it is the glucocorticoid which is a very important and most potent chemical. It is called the hyperglycemic factor. This is also we have discussed while discussing about the pancreas. Pancreas మనం చెప్పుకునేటప్పుడు hyperglycemic hormone అని చెప్పాం, గుర్తుందా? hyperglycemic hormone అనేటప్పుడు ఏంటది? hyperglycemic hormone, so which is responsible for the raise of glucose in the blood. Yes, that is the glucagon which is secreted by the alpha cells of Langerhans, islets of Langerhans of pancreas. So alpha cells secrete glucagon which decreases the absorption of glucose from the blood. It is responsible for the glycogenolysis, that is a breakdown of glycogen into glucose. That is why it contributing the raise of blood sugar level. And it converts here also cortisol converts the glycogen into glucose. That is breakdown of glycogen and conversion of glycogen into glucose. That is called glycogenolysis, breakdown of the glucose, and it is synergistic to glucagon. Just now I mentioned it, and antagonistic to insulin. Insulin hyposecretion, that is hypoglycemic hormone. Insulin stimulates and insulin promotes the absorption of cellular glucose level. It causes absorption, it promotes absorption of glucose and utilization of glucose by the cells. It increases the permeability. Because of this reason, cells utilize the glucose present in the blood. Obviously, the concentration of the glucose present in the blood falls down. The action of both the hormones, glucagon and insulin, they work together to regulate the concentration of blood glucose level. And here, once again, cortisol of the adrenal cortex is also responsible for the increase of the blood sugar level, and it also causes gluconeogenesis. What is meant by gluconeogenesis? Gluconeogenesis is the formation of carbohydrate or the glucose from non-carbohydrates, and it is an anti-stress hormone, anti-inflammatory factor, and also anti-allergic and anesthetic also. What that is cortisol, adrenal cortisol. It suppresses immune system and prevents deposition of collagen fibers and relieves arthritis, that is joint pains. It also stimulates or RBC production, that is called erythropoiesis, RBC production. What happens if this hormone secretion becomes high? It causes Cushing's syndrome. Cushing's syndrome because of hypersecretion of corticoids. It increases the blood glucose level, causes hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, and glucose starts passing through the urine, that is called glycosuria. Glycosuria, that is liberation of release of glucose through urine, called glycosuria. And due to fat deposition in the back of the back, here it shows the buffalo hump back, buffalo hump condition, because of that is here near the back the fat deposition occurs. And third hormone, that is sex corticoids. Sex corticoids, they are produced by the third region of the adrenal cortex, that is zona reticularis. These are sex hormones like androgens in males and females, estrogens. These hormones are generally secreted before sexual maturity. Before sexual maturity, these are produced and they cause the development of the sex cells. When the testes and ovaries are not fully developed, after full production of full maturity of this, the function starts, the hormones start their function. And next one is the adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla, this is the middle region of the adrenal gland. So we have seen the adrenal cortex, where the adrenal cortex is the peripheral region of the adrenal gland. It is having 3 different zones, and these 3 different zones, the outermost zone, middle and the inner. Outermost produces the mineralocorticoids, and the middle one secretes the glucocorticoids, and the innermost secretes the sex corticoids. And aldosterone is a most potent mineralocorticoid, and cortisol is the most potent glucocorticoid, which causes hyperglycemia, glycosuria, glycogenolysis, and gluconeogenesis, all these things. And even it relieves relieves, actually it causes the breakdown of the collagen fibers and relieves arthritis. And also it is anti-stress, anti-inflammatory hormone, and even also it is it reduces the that is suppresses the immune system, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic, and anesthetic. So these are the functions of glucocorticoid. And we have also seen the mineralocorticoid, how it works in absorption of sodium. That is why it is called hypernatriuretic factor. So natrium is the sodium. It raises the blood sodium level. That is very, very important for electrolyte balance in the body or even in the blood. So these are the details of adrenal cortex, different zones, different hormones and their production and control. In the next session, we'll discuss about the adrenal medulla, and also we'll do some of the multiple choice questions based on the concept. Thank you.